Low-key fighting games, frame data ruins fighting games. It's way more exciting and fun when motherfuckers don't actually know numbers and just play by feel and raw knowledge. It's a really weird take. And I say that like, not to troll or be mean, right? Hold on, let me see if I can pull that up here. If I can pull that up with having this out still. There we go. Yeah, we can have that up. Yeah. We can actually probably blow this shit up. Yeah, we can blow that shit up and leave it on the screen. I'm sick. I'm so smart. What a good content creator, huh? So the main problem with this tweet is that it doesn't account for the fact that frame data only exists if you want it to. That's like the biggest problem with this tweet, right? Anyone who's just like, oh no, dude, Punk's right. I missed the old golden era arcade days where no one knew frame data and it was all raw knowledge. Oh yeah? Well, what's stopping you from learning that way? You can always do that if you want. Just because other people are choosing to learn the game via the numbers doesn't mean you have to. Right? This is Punk, one of the greatest Street Fighter players in the world, saying that he wants games to be learned by feel, not by numbers. Very strange, right? I've heard really bad arguments like, oh, it's gatekeepy. Like, no, it's not. Because you can always go learn the numbers and nothing changes, right? That's like saying, I didn't do my homework. Hey, man, can I copy yours because you have all the answers? And someone says no. And you say, that's gatekeeping. And you can just find the answers. Just find the answers. But it is very strange, right, when you think about it, because the level of play, right? If you think about competitive play and competitive players, right? They are playing the game at what is, at the time, while the meta is advancing, the highest level. So, if everyone's playing off feel and doesn't actually know anything, right? If everything is just knowledge on top of knowledge, like no hard numbers, then everyone is probably doing very inoptimal things. Let's be real here, right? If we look at a game as old as Street Fighter Third Strike, right? We could look at Justin Wong versus Tokido the first time they played. Justin Wong was playing on what he thought was the highest level of play for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, because he'd been playing it for a year already. He was like, oh, I know how to play this game. I pick Chun. I whip this button in neutral. Meter gain, force my opponent to come near me. Urien, that character is bad. Nobody plays Urien. That character is trash. That's not Urien. I mean, that's not one of the twins. That's not Chun-Li. That's not Ken. Character sucks. And then he got blown up because he didn't have any of the knowledge or frame data that comes along with learning the matchup. Now, it was super hype at the time to watch him get blown up by something that he didn't understand at all. But it was also very unfortunate, because if he had just had the raw numbers, the actual hard information that comes along with the game, whether it's developer side or community side, right? Once you get those numbers, everything changes. The game becomes an entirely different beast. Now, I will say, putting it in the game, that's a totally different story, right? Some people are not for frame data being in the game. They want everyone to have to figure it out on their own, just because they want that honing feel, right? There's honers and there's innovators. Honers can't hone a hard number, but if there's no hard numbers, they can first reach the honing stage by finding that hard number. Innovators are more the people who are gonna like the fact that there's no hard numbers, because they're always getting to discover new things, right? They have that arcade feel of everyone is learning together at the same pace. But that's not for everyone, right? I know a lot of frame data here and there, right? Like, I don't think about frames all the time, but I kind of just like generally like to know the hard number. And not so that I can know how minus something is or how plus something is. Usually it's just like, does this stay my turn? Does this lose my turn? Is this punishable? Okay, by what? Right? Okay, it's minus this number. All right, I'm gonna jab it. Dude, you can do way more than that. For now, I'm gonna jab it. That's what I know. Because numbers aren't the only thing that go into the game, right? Like, so saying that play by feel and raw knowledge sucks is bad. It's bad logic, right? Because what that does is it makes it so that what you're doing is you're just missing a piece of information. Sure, you can go and find that information via playing the game constantly, and that's what we had to do back in the day, and that's what people still do now, right? There's a lot of things that, even though you know the numbers, you don't always know the ranges. You don't always know the hit stun and block stun. right? You don't always know the follow-ups, right? You can look up a hard number all you want, but guess what? You didn't know that move was special cancelable. You didn't know that move was super cancelable. You didn't know you could chain another button after that. You didn't know that Gatlinged. There's so much more on top of fighting games than just hard numbers. Just like there's so much more to fighting games than just raw execution, right? This is that take of, man, I wish that fighting games didn't have such long combos because they straight up ruin fighting games, bro. I wish everything was all neutral and footsies and fundies all the time. No, there's like different things to enjoy about fighting games, right? For some people, it's those hard numbers. For some people, it's the feel of learning something all the time. And for others, it's how long you can sit in the lab and learn your optimals and your bread and butters and punish each situation. I actually saw something under here that was really funny that we'll scroll down to real quick. Here it is. Can't wait for the sequel. Recording the AI doing block strings ruins fighting games. Just smell the gaps. Should get rid of fighting. Just get rid of training mode. TBH, learn through hard fought matches. This is really funny because you could tell it's satirical. He's definitely joking, right? Because we all use the training mode just a little bit to kind of find things that we don't understand. But it's that same take, right? Like Theo's poking at him here with the same shitty take that he has. He's saying, hey, this is a bad take, bro. Here's a funnier one. Here's an even funnier one. Personally, I don't mind frame data. I have no problem with it, right? I think having the hard numbers for those people who want it is cool. Not having the hard numbers or not really thinking about them or caring about them for those people who don't, like myself, like I learn them for the most part, so I can know, okay, that's punishable, cool. That's really all I think about, right? A lot of times in fighting games, saying, oh no, that's mine, is I can't believe he swung there, right? That's what happens once you start to learn frame data. Learning frame data sometimes actually really changes how you play a fighting game, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm -4 here, and my opponent's fastest button is Cobra Tango got first. What's up, wonderful loves? And my opponent's fastest button is, 7 frames, but I'm -4, so I can't do anything here. I'll get counter hit if I press. But who cares? Sometimes you're just gonna press there anyway because your opponent's gonna respect the fact that you're safe, right? So knowing those hard numbers a lot of times actually holds people back. It's something that I caught myself doing a lot when I started exploring and like delving deeper into fighting games. Back when I was playing like a lot of Mortal Kombat X, Injustice 2, Soul Calibur 6. What I did, and I don't do this as much anymore, right? Now that I'm playing more fighting games in between, like I play a little bit of Killer Instinct, I've been playing Guilty Gear Strive, been playing, of course, DNF Duel, right? But when I was super deep into a game and like trying to get all the numbers down, the nitty gritty, I would get very upset all the time when people would press on their minus frames. Hey, they're not punishable. Those minus frames don't mean anything if I don't challenge or check with the fast enough button, because I'm worried about something else they could be doing, like a reversal, like a jump out, like a backdash, like a wake up, like a raw super, right? Anything, a reversal of some kind. Because I'm worried about all of these options and they're in my mental stack, sometimes my opponent's just going to take a free turn. And knowing that those things exist, when we spin this tweet, Punk's right. Low-key, frame data ruins fighting games. It's funny to think about, right? I say this is a shit tweet, but when it comes to learning fighting games, it's actually really... No, Punk's not right. I agree. Punk's not right at all. But when it comes to learning fighting games, it's actually really funny, because what happens is at low level, you're like, I don't know, I was just pressing buttons and the shit worked. And then in mid-level, you're like, well, that was -7, and my fastest button is I9, and I could frame trap that with 2 frames. My fastest button actually becomes 2 frames because they can't press anything there. And if they try to press, then they'll get counterpunked by this. It's like, okay. And then you ask a top-level player, hey, why'd you press that? They're like, I don't know. I just thought it was going to work. It's actually really funny. Because of the fact that there's so many other options to worry about, the frames don't always matter, right? So this tweet sucks because frames help you learn and understand a game and really get into it at the highest level or even at mid-level and just kind of stop pressing buttons randomly. But then the more you learn about the game, the more you realize sometimes you just have to press buttons randomly. Like, it's like that was the worst option. You know why that was the worst option? Because it was the best option. Because the worst option is the best option when your opponent's not fucking thinking about it. It's really funny to think about. Something like that, right? But that's not what he's getting at here. What he's getting at here is he just wants everyone to like play and learn a game on the same foot. And I think this just comes basically from everyone already discovering so much about DNF Duel, maybe, right? And you know, people do things along the lines of oh, hey, did you know, like you're talking to someone, right? And they're living their best life, you're watching a stream and they don't punish something. You're like, hey, did you know that move that you just blocked and didn't punish was -14 and you have this to punish? It's like, okay, thanks for that. You know, the discovery period for everyone is different, right? Everyone doesn't always want to discover the game straight up through those raw numbers. They want to discover it through game feel. And others want to discover it through those raw numbers. I'm sorry that my camera's wigging out anytime I move my hands. I don't know what kind of light exposure magic that is. I'm not sure. This isn't like, I want to go to my Discord real quick. I don't mean to blast anyone. Okay, I don't. It's not what we're here to do. But I'm gonna go here real quick. And here we are. They posted the Punk tweet yesterday, right, at 1 p.m. You guys can see it here. Can I full screen my Discord? You can't full screen Discord. That's unfortunate, right? I said Punk is corny for that. I agree that it's very strange, right? But there was someone who was getting really, really odd about it. It's like, I don't think not wanting frame data is gatekeeping. It's just stupid, right? And then the next thing they said was, it's gatekeeping because it limits the existing information, and it is gatekeeping knowledge by definition to those who've put many hours and experience into the game, right? So if you're very new to a game, you have zero understanding and zero knowledge of the game, so your leg up, or you're beginning to understand the game, is going and looking at the hard numbers. This is like the logic he's trying to make it here, and he said you want to make it harder for others to get better and understand the game, right? Now, here's the thing. I'm going to just go all the way to the very end. Hey, what's a wonderful luck? I'm going to go to the very end. What he's saying is everyone finds the knowledge themselves or within their community. It's not gatekeeping because no one is stopping you. No one is keeping you from finding the knowledge on your own or with friends. He just doesn't want it to be a Google search away, which I don't agree with. I think it should be a Google search away. Or, as a matter of fact, I think it should just be in the game, right? Like I said, it's a shitty take, but calling it gatekeeping is like being mad that someone won't do your homework for you because they already have all the answers. This is a shit take too, and there's a lot of shit takes that like come out of something like this, right? Like we see like a high level player post their opinion on the internet for everyone to see. Maybe not always the best idea, and people, you know, they interpret it all sorts of ways. The way I interpret it is Punk likes that old arcade experience where people are just mashing around and they discover things at a slower pace compared to people going in, right, and looking at it 60 frames per second, frame by frame, and just finding out exactly the hard numbers of everything immediately, hampering that discovery experience for a lot of people, right? Because what happens is you actually hamper that discovery experience by doing that. But you also make it can't be found without outside tools, especially not frame data for the whole game. Yeah, I know, I agree. Like, but what I'm saying is, like, I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. I think finding it's def gatekeeping. If it would take you 400 plus hours to find it yourself. No, it's not, because that means that those people who are playing also took 400 hours to find it themselves. They're not gatekeeping it because they didn't have it immediately and hold it off from you. It's gatekeeping because you're not just asking a question, right? Like, you just find people who are your friends who play the game, or you go watch a video about it. Like, there's so many resources that exist that aren't just hard frame data, and you can always just ask someone. Now, they found it as a community. That's another thing. If they found it as a community, then you just become a part of the community and you find all these things, right? If he's saying he wants everyone to discover it themselves, that is not inherently gatekeeping, because he wants everyone to discover it themselves. He doesn't want to have a select elite group of players who have the entire. Okay, exactly. But he's saying he doesn't want like an elite group of people to have frame data and no one else to have it. He doesn't want anyone to fucking have it. It's not gatekeeping. It's just a bad take. Yeah, and I think it's the same way with Soul Calibur 6, right? When everyone started learning frames in that game, we learned it as a community, right? And we just started posting it in the Discords. Even when we hadn't posted in the Discords, we all kind of learned it together as a community. And if you come into that community late, sure, you're a little behind, but those resources will already exist. Yeah, that's what Punk is talking about, though. Yeah, he's talking about everyone finding themselves, everyone taking that 400 plus discovery period and learning the game in a what he considers fun way. I don't think he's doing it to gatekeep. He's doing it because he wants everyone to, maybe he just wants himself, I don't know, to enjoy the game in a more fun way, right? Because a lot of people, whenever they think about fighting games, the first thing they think is, oh, I need to learn numbers, I need to learn combos, right? And they don't think the first things on their head aren't always, I need to learn neutral, I need to learn spacing and footsies and game feel, right? And I think, honestly, game feel is like one of the most important things ever. I think Punk doesn't know why he's saying it. I think he just wants an old arcade Discovery experience, the Innovator's Paradise. He doesn't want the Honer's Paradise. Because once a game starts to become honed, it becomes less appealing to innovators. Because there's less to innovate because the honers have already gotten their hands on it. There's a whole YouTube video about it, actually, from Gerald from Core Gaming. I don't know if you guys want to watch that. Yo, true. Maybe he's doing it all for impressions. Punk is young. He's never played in the arcade. Yeah, he's younger than me. If I'm not mistaken, Punk was born in 97. But saying that someone is young so they never played in the arcade is untrue. Because there's so many like experiences that you have in fighting games where you were a small baby child. So even though you weren't in the arcades, you still had that old school arcade feel where you were playing with your brothers and sisters and you guys were all mashing DP with Ryu and Ken and thinking that shit was safe on block and it was the best move to ever exist in the entire game. Until one day you played with a friend or you played with an older family member that was a little bit more privy to these things, and they were like, I played Super Turbo as a kid. I know what happens if I block a DP. JK. If you block DPs in Super Turbo, aren't they safe? You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, the knowledge is always there. The knowledge will always be there. And finding it is cool, but that's not always the way that everyone wants to play the game. It should be preference. Ken light DP is pretty safe. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. Next time I play Ultra, I'll mash Ken light DP. Thanks. Yeah, I'm a big fan of actually having the hard numbers just to look at if there's ever a situation or there's ever a spot that I don't understand. But if I didn't have the hard numbers, like a lot of times right now in brand new fighting games, devs don't always put in the frame data. So you got to find it yourself, or you got to go into the training mode and just kind of lab what you can do about a situation. And that's what I did against Hitman DP the other day. I found out Crusader doesn't have an answer. The answer is to never get hit by DP, never block DP in Awakening, just backdash it at best. It's a good fucking move, right? And the numbers would help with that because the numbers already told me that it was safe with the second hit. So I was like, okay, the numbers tell me it's safe. But the answer is don't let him get into Awakening. But if he's already in Awakening, if you did too much damage on Chip, right? Chip still puts people into Awakening. The next thing that you do is you go into the lab and you find the answer anyway. There's so many other, like, these takes always just kind of rub me the wrong way because it really feels like people don't fully understand fighting games when they say things like this. And I won't say that Punk doesn't fully understand maybe the fighting games that he's the best at, but you can't truly fully understand fighting games if you think that this is what makes fighting games exciting. Because it also makes fighting games scrambly and bad. And that is not always exciting. Sometimes that's like random as shit. Abyss Commander, thank you so much for the raid. I hope the stream went well, dude. Total Warfare, right? Warhammer Total Warfare, something like that. And it works the same way with combos, right? Like there are a lot of players who do terrible combos and they're still really good at whatever fighting games that they like. They drop their combos all the time, but they still pick it up in the scramble or neutral. They get another guess. And they bring it all the way back, right? And that's just another portion of fighting games. Execution. What are the three parts again? It's like heart, body, and mind. It's like execution, knowledge, and reads, I guess, right? All three of those things coexist in this bubble that make fighting games so great, and make so many games so great. Like this, if you take this tweet and you spin it to like another genre, it looks just as dumb. And that's how you know that it's a bad take, right? Low-key frame data ruins shooting games. It's way more fun and exciting when people don't actually know the numbers and just play the game by raw knowledge and feel. Nothing's stopping a shooting game player from doing that. Nothing's stopping a shooting game player from saying, I have no clue how much damage this gun deals, but I'm going to shoot with it and hope I kill people, right? Nothing's stopping people from doing that. But at the highest level, knowing those damage numbers so that you may play as optimally as possible and realize, holy crap, I'm using the M1, the M4, whatever. You know, I'm using the M4. This gun sucks. Why am I not using some random SMG that does way more damage in the same ranges and has a way faster fire rate? You know, I'm just making some shit up. I'm almost certain that usually SMGs are worse than add automatic rifles and Call of Duty and shit like that, right? Where I don't know the hard damage numbers on the AR and Halo, but I know the BR shoots slower, but it does more damage, right? Game feel. But knowing those hard numbers is always better at the highest level. Depends on the game. Yeah, there's a few broken games where SMGs were way better than ARs. That's usually not a good thing. I'm gonna let you know that now. Like spray and pray games where you can use an SMG from the same range, you can use an AR and still kill people. It's usually a fucked up situation, dude. Low-key, net decking ruins card games. It's way more exciting and fun when people don't actually know what's good and just play by knowledge and play by feel and raw knowledge. Think about that. Do you know what net decking does? 1 second, I'll read that here in a second. Do you know what net decking does in card games? It actually advances the meta, right? Because if everyone is playing the things that are the best, people have to find A, counters, or B, techs to make that thing go to the highest level, to the next level, right? Rather, at some point, you know, if a metagame is solved enough, everyone just ends up playing the same 2 or 3 decks. That's just kind of what happens. Yeah, that net decking analogy is good. I tried my best. I don't think that it was great, but I tried my best. The only reason why I say something like net decking is because it's just like fighting games. Like, people find the best things, and they do the best things for the most part. But there is still reads, and there is still other things that you can do inside of card games to make your deck a little bit different so that it still has the personality of you in it. And a little bit net decking is cool. But people who only net deck and never adapt are always going to suck. Yeah, there's going to be things, there's going to be text that you have to put in to make that deck beat the best deck, right? You're playing the best deck, but you can't just play the best deck versus the best deck. Like, then it's just, okay, who went first, right? Who opened the best? Who had the most optimal opening? That's not how that works. You want to have techs, and you want to have like counter picks or counter style cards in your deck so that you're already ready for the mirror matches, right? I think that I did that a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So a perfect example is in Yu-Gi-Oh, there was a format where the best deck was Monarchs. Monarchs are a tribute summon deck that all they did was tribute summon. They had really no other avenues to get damage or to get big monsters on the field, right? They couldn't really do much of anything else. So when that became one of the best decks, the meta game was to automatically build a board and side deck something that stops your opponent from tributing monsters, right? So Fog King is a monster with 2600 attack, so it's very hard to beat over. And it's a tribute summon monster, and once you get it out on the field, neither player can tribute monsters. A card like Mask of Restrict stop people from tribute summoning, things like that. You would play those cards in the mirror match, you would have those answers ready, because we know that it's the best deck. It's the same thing in fighting games, right? You have the hard numbers. You have the knowledge of what people do round start a lot of times. Now you're like, okay, well, I know that this is I-10 round start and that I have the exact same button, or I have a button that's similar. But what is the meta game? What is the counter to said, round start that's so powerful that most people are going to immediately do it? What's the counter to that? And then the metagame develops after that, where, okay, well, I know that you know that my best round start option is this, so what do I do at round start instead? And usually this just ends up devolving into both players backdashing a round start. But that's not the point. I digress, right? That's not a super... that's not like the logic behind what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's always an answer to something, even once things are figured out. Unless something's just way too powerful and the character's name is Swiftmaster and you just have to know that it's the best character in the game. Unfortunate. The info helps make decision but doesn't decide everything. Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah. I think that's in a roundabout way, in a way better way. That's exactly what I said. Thanks, Wonderful Deluxe. Anyways, I think that's it for the discussion piece, right? I don't think there's anything much left to say. There's so many ways that you can turn this argument just on its head that it just doesn't make sense anymore, right? If you look at this, there's like no way. Oh, oops, that way? That way? There's no way that this really ever makes sense, right? Sure, if that's how you want to enjoy the game, that's totally fine. No one's stopping. No one is ever stopping someone from learning the game this way. But for those who want to learn the game this way, to have the information laid out for them, it's also not a bad thing either. It's totally up to the player, right? And I think that that's a good thing. More choice is always a good thing. Anyways, if you like these discussion pieces that of course happen on the Twitch, but go on to the YouTube, feel free to like the video. Comment down below if you really even follow Frame Data in your favorite fighting games or video games in general, right? There's a lot of patch notes. There's a lot of metagame things that you can follow in games like Magic the Gathering Arena that show you what the best decks are. Patches in Fortnite that tell you the weapon damage. Say something so dumb so I can argue? No, I'm not going to do that. No. Let me know how you guys feel about, using Frame Data as a resource in your favorite games, right? If you do it, if you play more casually so you don't care about it, so what you're really worried about is just raw knowledge and game feel. Anyways, this is Beanie Thuggish for the YouTube, signing out and saying peace.